Welcome back to another episode of Eric Unfiltered. I am your host, Eric Dickinson, and before I get started, if you would be so kind, give me a follow on the socials. Over on X, you can find me at Eric Not Sorry, and on Facebook, you can find me at Eric Unfiltered Podcast. This first segment actually came as a request. I had a few people mention me on X over this and actually had a follower reach out directly. Thanks for the DM, bro. Connecticut's Public Act 26 42. So some people are like, what is this? What's going on? So I wanted to look into this. Public Act 26 42, stemming from House Bill 5001 and signed by Governor Ned Lamont in May of 2026, prohibits officers or agents authorized by the federal government or any state to use force against, search, detain, or arrest individuals, and from knowingly being within 250 feet of an election site. What? Why? So, law enforcement is not allowed within 250 feet of an election site? Okay. Election sites include polling places on election day, primaries, or referendum days, early voting locations, same day registration spots, and absentee ballot drop boxes. Why? Violations are a Class C felony carrying potential prison time, fines, and disenfranchisement. Why? There are some exemptions. Officers can enter the zone for urgent circumstances, protecting against a serious threat to life or property, with a judicial warrant or court order after giving at least 24 hours notice to the Secretary of State and Attorney General. If the governor deems force necessary to repel armed enemies while off duty to vote or engage in protected political expression or with permission from the Secretary of the State or a local moderator. What? So, okay. There are also carve outs for officers working at police facilities inside the radius or living nearby. Well, that's good. I'm glad any law enforcement officer living within 250 feet of an election site doesn't have to move. So, okay. Wow. Police chiefs across the state met with the Secretary of the State's office, the Attorney General's office, and Chief State Attorney's office to clarify implications. Some departments indicated they would respond only under urgent circumstances. Republican lawmakers call it a, quote, direct shot at law enforcement officers, end quote, arguing it complicates basic policing near common municipal buildings used as voting sites and adds to recruitment and retention pressures. Secretary of the State Stephanie Thomas later issued guidance granting broader permissions for non urgent responses that do not interfere with election administration, clarifying that moderators or her office can authorize presence and interpreting certain transit language more flexibly. What? Bro, we have had law enforcement officers at election places for decades. What's the problem now? What is with all this? What? Even so, the law's scope and felony penalty have kept eyebrows raised among local law enforcement leaders heading into the election period. Yes, but we also know they will continue to vote for these same jagaloons that tied their hands. Kind of handcuffed them. See what I did there? Okay, while on this subject, I wanted to mention this. So remember back when Connecticut passed Senate Bill 397, I think it was? Yeah, earlier this year. You know the ones. You know that one. Get Mo is walking on my keyboard here. Thanks, buddy. Pause here while I scroll back up on my notes as Mo the Chonk on Instagram just walked across my keyboard. Thanks for that, buddy. At least he didn't translate the language, so it's all in like wingding. Look up that font. It's fun. Okay, yeah, but yeah, sorry. Senate Bill 397, the one that bars law enforcement, specifically ICE, from wearing masks. Do you remember that? Let me see here. Yes. Let's see. SB 397 bars law enforcement officers, including federal agents, specifically ICE, from wearing facial coverings or masks while interacting with the public in the performance of duties, while requiring visible badges and name tags. Violations are a misdemeanor. Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah, that was just a joke. That whole thing was a joke. It was never going to be enforced because it's called the Supremacy Clause. Yeah, and all of the people, so many dumbasses fell for it. Yay! Yeah, ICE isn't going to wear masks. It was a facade. You all were lied to. It was fake. It was never going to be enforced. Oh, and on that, let's see here. Federal agents have continued operations in masks in the state, and courts have already blocked similar mask bans targeting federal officers in California, New York, Philadelphia, and other jurisdictions on constitutional grounds. Oh, and also the Supremacy Clause. So yeah, that whole thing was a complete joke, complete farce. So I ask again, why? Why are we doing this? Why is law enforcement barred from being within 250 feet of an election place? Why? Oh, because people might feel uncomfortable. Again, I already stated, haven't we had law enforcement at election places for literally ever? Forever. There's like always like just like two dudes or in outside and like a lady inside. Why all of a sudden? We all know why. We all know why. And in my opinion, I know some of you are going, it's immediately one. And yeah, that's on my list. I have two. I have two reasons. Because one of the things is, let's state the obvious. Connecticut elections are corrupt as shit. Okay? Libs of TikTok blows up this state on the reg when it comes to our elections. Bridgeport specifically. Yes. I mean, we had accusations of voter fraud in Bridgeport with a woman on camera. And there's no arrests. And none of the press is looking into it. And nobody's, yeah. Well, I'm going to get into the press a little bit later. I'm going to close on that one. They're not going to like me, and I don't care. But police have been at our polling places for decades. Why suddenly now? So, yeah, I partially lean towards they don't want someone to kind of maybe see that there might be some kind of tomfoolery going on. But I partially lean. I put a couple of my eggs in that basket, but I put the other 10 in they don't want law enforcement to arrest illegals who are trying to vote in our elections. Not saying it's happening. I'm not. And that's not even tongue in cheek. I'm not saying it's happening. We know it's happening. Connecticut got caught with its pants down. You remember the guy that owns the restaurant in West Hartford? Yeah, that guy who voted, or at least registered to vote? Yeah, he's an illegal? Yeah. We know the percentage isn't zero. I'm not saying 45% of the people who vote in our elections are illegals. Not saying that. But we know it's not zero. It's not 0%. But therein lies the question. Our governor, our current governor, the AG, our senators, everybody, basically all the Democrats, everybody that's in office right now, Connecticut, remember this in November, remember this. We have been told we are not a sanctuary state, which is a lie. We give out licenses and IDs to illegals. for some reason. I don't know why. So these same people tell us that illegals are not voting. Our elections are safe and secure. That phrase sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Okay. Well, if our elections are safe and secure, and illegals genuinely aren't voting in our elections, literally 0%, then, Governor, why would you bar law enforcement of any kind to be within 250 feet of a polling place? Just asking questions. I'm curious. I'm curious on that. It seems stupid. I'm I'm just saying. And me personally, I already don't like being in an environment that is deemed a soft target, especially when it's a target rich environment. And now our governor has just created a target rich environment, soft target environment, because you can't carry a firearm inside of his school, right? Okay. And then kept law enforcement far away from the soft target area. Oh, also, in case people haven't noticed, the political climate's a little bit charged. Awesome. Don't don't you feel like your elections are now really safe and secure? Don't you feel safe? Don't you? So, yeah, if you would like to look more into this, Public Act 26-42. Question why? Why would you want this? I just I don't get it. I don't get it. I, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's kind of like if there was a three-way stop and everybody in town just rolled through the stop sign. Like, nobody, like, there's never highly trafficked. And then the town decided to put yield signs up instead of stop. And then people freaked out. It's like, well, all of y'all are just rolling through the stop sign anyway. You're literally doing what a yield sign tells you to do. So now you're not going to get a ticket. Why are you upset? It makes no sense, right? It doesn't make sense. I don't know. Make it make sense, folks. Make it make sense. I have a funny one. Kind of. It's actually really serious, but it's actually really funny. New York couple discovers uninvited roommate. That's right. Bill and Yelim Kim. I apologize if I said your name wrong, ma'am. They were on the final night of a trip to Yellowstone National Park on July 24th when their home security system pinged. Oh, Yellowstone, I want to go there. They opened the live feed from their Long Island City apartment at the Halo LIC buildings on Purvis Street. Purvis? Really? And saw an unfamiliar woman walking through their living room, pouring herself a drink and lounging on the couch in a dress and heels, and scrolling on her phone. I'm sorry, but did they just assume her gender? How rude. All right. Quote, I was in disbelief. I just could not believe what I was seeing, Bill later told reporters. The couple went into full panic mode, as most normal people do. Moments later, the woman noticed the camera, ripped it off the bookshelf, damaging it in the process, and the feed cut out. They immediately contacted police and friends since they were kind of far from home. How did she get in? Well, there was no signs of forced entry. And do you know why there was no signs of forced entry? This couple, they weren't dumb. They didn't leave a window unlocked. No, they did not leave their doors unlocked. No, this obviously safety conscious couple took care of safety at home. Hence, they had a camera. How did this woman get in? Well, she used the key. Oh, did they leave the key outside? Like, no. Building management later confirmed in emails to residents that the woman claiming to be the Kim's dog walker approached the front desk concierge. She was frantic, reportedly saying she needed to get to the dogs. Without verifying her identity or authorization, an employee handed over the apartment keys. That's awesome. That's just fantastic. The Kims say they never had a dog walker authorized to enter while they were away and had no authorized guests. Yeah, it gets better. Oh, this gets better. When friends arrived, they were there prior to law enforcement. They knocked and recorded the whole thing. Cell phone video captured the exchange. The friends told her that she didn't live there and that she had to leave. She apologized and left. Then returned minutes later with the keys, then let herself back in. Oh, fantastic! Police arrived shortly before 11 p.m., found she had entered without permission, and the woman was taken to a hospital for evaluation. Nothing was reported as stolen. It gets better. It gets better. And no, this is not one of those she claims she's a squatter and she's got the rights to the house situation. No, New York, you got props with that. No, this isn't that. But no, 2 days later, the same woman returned to the building, still in the same dress and heels, while wearing a hospital bracelet, but was turned away at the lobby. What? She was smart enough to take the gown off. She left the I'm crazy bracelet on. Got it. Goose Property Management, which runs Halo LIC, permanently removed the employee involved, aka Shitcan. Said it was retraining staff on ID verification protocols and noted security and enhancement. The NYPD is investigating the incident as a burglary. As of the latest reports, no charges or arrests have been announced, and the woman's identity has also not been made public. I would go with Dressy McScrewballs, but whatever. Yalim described herself as, quote, freaking traumatized, end quote. Bill said the apartment no longer feels safe. Understandable. Feels gross. It's just gross. The couple, whose lease was up for renewal in September, began frantically looking for a new place and planned to move out. Yalim said, quote, safety isn't a luxury. It's just a standard, end quote. Man, she sounds like a gun owner. She does. That's something we say. But this is New York, so I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. Dude, I told you. Serious, right? Crazy, serious, but funny. I would not, dude. The Kim family, I do not wish this on you. That is just nuts. That is nuts as that lady, but dude, could you imagine? Not only they're not like down the road at the grocery store. They're in freaking Yellowstone, bro. And who the hell is this lady in her house? And then you find out someone at the front desk just let her in. Dude, you can't be like that nowadays, dog. You can't. You just can't. Scary. All right, this last one, it's going to be quick because I honestly didn't look into it because I don't care enough to. There's a story going around about Donald Trump, swapping planes, I guess, coming back from the Middle East or some summit or whatever the hell. Again, I didn't look into it. I don't care enough. It's about the press being all butthurt, how like they weren't told ahead of time, and then they now feel like, well, wait, so there was a threat on the plane and you like left us on there? Yeah, yeah, yeah. They do that, and do you know why? Because you're not important. You're the press. You're a dime a dozen. I'm sorry, not sorry. Hence why I didn't look into this story. I don't care enough. I just kind of want to rant a little bit about the people that are all butthurt. Trump used them like bait. Okay. And you guys mocked him when Antifa attacked the White House. and he had to go into the bunker. You called him Bunker Boy. You mocked President Trump when he was shot in the ear. Hell, you made excuses for the shooter. You made excuses like it was faked. A man died that day, and you laughed that Trump got nicked in the ear. Yeah, a man died that day, and two other people were seriously hurt that day. And yet you mocked this man. You made every excuse in the book to make it not political violence and not real. And then when you had to admit that it was political violence, you didn't give a shit. So why am I supposed to care if you were bait? You laughed and mocked when Charlie was murdered. You made excuses for the shooter. Even now. And I'm supposed to care about a reporter who put themselves in a situation to ultimately pad their resume to get a bigger salary to then complain about rich people. I don't care. I really don't care. I don't wish harm upon anyone. Of course not. I don't wish upon harm. I've said it here before against politicians or the press. I just don't care. I'm not going to laugh if something happened. If the worst happened that day and President Trump landed here in the United States safe and sound and the plane someone thought he was on didn't, I would not cheer. I would not mock. I would not be happy. I would be really freaking pissed. And I would want payback. A lot of payback. And you could tell me every reporter was for every left-wing outlet, and I still would feel the same way. Because they attacked us. But at the end of the day, I don't care about you. You don't care about him. You care about padding your resume, getting your clicks, getting your follows. Man, kind of like me. Hence, you're a dime a dozen. Look at me. I'm doing your job. I mean, granted, I'm not boots on the ground doing the reporting, going into seedy areas, putting in my. Granted, I'll give you that. I will give you that. In the future, you won't either because you'll have a robot do that for you. Just like you have a robot write up most of your reports now, too. And you know how I know that? Because I do the same thing. Yeah, I know. I walk in the same circles. Hence, why you're a dime a dozen. So yeah, continue mocking the life of other people and then clutch your pearls when yours is when yours is suddenly put into the same crosshairs or similar danger. I don't care. I laugh at you. I don't laugh if you got harmed. I would not. I assure you of that. I swear to you of that. But the fact that you're clutching your pearls makes me laugh my ass off. I don't care. I don't care about you. You're a dime a dozen. Oh, and also, like I said, I kind of do a job similar to yours, and I do it as a hobby. It's fun. But at least the people who watch me know a couple of things. One, I don't blow smoke up your ass. I'm not going to lie to you knowingly. I'm going to be authentic and real. And sometimes I'm funny. Sometimes. All right. Thank you for listening to my rant. I hope you enjoyed the other stories. If you did, like Bell, I don't know where the hell I'm pointing. My camera's blocked on my screen. But thank you for checking me out. Again, you can find me on X at Eric Not Sorry, over on Facebook at Eric Unfiltered Podcast, and everywhere on, wherever you're listening to. But thank you again. Until next time.